Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Natasha Herrera. I'm on the marketing team here at the Van Wezel. We're looking forward to chatting with you guys. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for submitting all of these great questions. We received a lot of questions ahead of time. So we're going to do our best to get through as many as we can. And we will be doing a follow-up email for those of you that receive our emails. We will be doing a follow-up email to answer any questions we might have missed today and just with some information that goes with everything that we're talking about today. So without further ado, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce Mary Bensel, our Executive Director.
Hi, everybody. This is wonderful to be with all of you today. You know, it's been a crazy, wild ride through COVID. And I must tell you, everything that I say today is based on what I know today, because everything changes on and on. But we've had some a little disturbing news today, last minute, late breaking news that the SOS Act, which is the Save Our Stages Act, may actually pass, but they're looking at excluding buildings like the Van Wezel that is owned and operated by the city of Sarasota, which is really unfortunate because we do not receive any funding from the city or from the taxes or the general fund. And so I'm going to ask you later, and I'll mention it right now, please reach out to Senator Marco Rubio. Senator Rubio is the head of the Small Business Administration. That's under his purview as a senator here in Florida. So please reach out to him on our behalf because we are not being supported by government entities. So anyway, I know that Natasha has a lot of questions that you want to get to, and a lot of things that are sort of happier news than what I just started out with. But I'm really glad. I have missed you all. If I had known that Paul Anka that night, our last show at the Van Wezel was going to be that night, I would have asked Paul to stay on the stage all night, and he would have done so. I guarantee you he would have. So anyway, Natasha, let's get right to it and answer questions for people.
Sure. So we want to think about this in the format of where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going. So let's start a little bit with where we are. Can you just give us a state of the Van Wezel and what things are looking like right now?
Sure. Luckily for the Van Wezel, we were able to save money over the years, and we had built up a very a small fund that we're able to operate off of. And we also received from the Sarasota County an arts grant that is very helpful to us as well from the CARES Act. So that was great news. But we have been doing all sorts of things. We have a really fabulous education platform going on right now, where our education director, Kelly Maldonado, has all these online classes for everyone. It's called Artworks Anywhere. We're also offering school time performances for the kids for nothing. We only charged a very small fee in the beginning. It was $7 when a student came. But for this year, when we are doing everything online, all of our events for education are totally free. So that's a wonderful program. We also have been enjoying doing Cabaret by the Bay, and Cabaret by the Bay is something that I love. Last weekend we had one, and it was fantastic. It was jazz and holiday music, and you got to sit and look out at the bay. Then we also have Bay Music Live, which we've been supported by our friends at the Bay, and we've had an outdoor live concert. And we wish we could do it the way we did with Friday Fest, but here we have Job Movement singing for you, and our fabulous friend Chantel Norman this is her group. And what we did was we limited the participation to about 260 people. We cordoned off special blocks on the lawn so you could socially distance in your group. And it was really a great day. Although I will tell you, it was the hottest day in November I have ever experienced. And so we were certainly, using a lot of our fans, but Bay Music Live was great. And we hope to do one in February. And then a lot of you may have read the story in the Herald Tribune that was the front page piece. about yoga on the Bayfront. And I'm told they had over 100 people last weekend come out and do yoga on the Bayfront. And this other cool thing was a pod of dolphins swam by during the class, and the instructor had to stop and turn around and look at it. And it has been a huge hit. And I'm sure we're going to be doing lots of events like that once the Bay actually gets activated. So that's some of the great stuff we're doing right now, Natasha, as well as digital programming. And while, you know, digital is not my favorite, it came in so handy during this pandemic. And I've had the chance to interview so many wonderful people, Attila and Marion Glatz with Salute to Vienna and Budapest. I also got to interview Dave Koz and Jim Brickman. We've done streams with David, with all sorts of great people. And we have a lot of them still coming up. You saw them on a loop before I got started. And we have Celtic Thunder and all sorts of great shows. And Dave Koz, what happened to him was right before he was to film the show, Natasha, someone came down with COVID and they had to do a whole new lineup. But you know how it is in show business. The show must go on, and they just went on without a hitch.
Yes, and I love that they said, you know, Christmas isn't canceled, and they found a way to make it work safely. And I heard that it went very well, and everybody really liked it. So I'm glad that they were able to make it work. And
it went
really
great.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing I love the most is Dave Koz is Jewish, yet he has the biggest Christmas tour of anyone. And he always jokes about it in his shows. And he's such a wonderful human being.
Yeah, he loves Christmas, and Christmas loves him.
Yes.
So glad to get to feature him every year. So we're going to jump right into some of this Q&A about what we're doing now. So I know you mentioned a few of the events that we've done recently. One of the questions was, what types of events have audiences responded to the most since March, given the ever-changing landscape and many events moving to a virtual platform?
Sure, I think I alluded to it. People love the live events. You know, it's very important when you have a chance to see a performer and be able to feel that energy. And so while we have done a great number of digital shows, people are really responding, and that's why we're going to continue with our Cabaret by the Bay. We have one coming up January the 15th and the 16th, and it is the Michael Ross Quartet. It's jazz. We featured all sorts of, we've done pop, we've done blues, we've done jazz now. I'm going to challenge my booking team to find some country acts too. So, but you have to be careful in the Van Wezel because it's not as big a space, so you can't have a real booming loud noise. But I tell you, I loved this weekend's jazz performance, and I can't wait to the ones in January.
Great. So that definitely answers one of the other questions that we got about whether or not Cabaret by the Bay and Bay Music Live would be continuing.
Yes.
So we did just announce those January dates for Cabaret by the Bay. Feel free to check out our website. They are on sale tomorrow. And Bay Music Live, as Mary mentioned, we're hoping to announce another one for February. So definitely keep an eye on your emails for that one.
Absolutely.
The next topic of questions is really the big one. This is probably where we receive the most questions, as I'm sure all of you are waiting to hear, and that is safety. So we're going to go ahead and roll some video here. But Mary, if you want to talk through some of the general talking points,
Sure.
And then for some of these topics that you guys see on the video, we're going to go a little bit more in depth in these. So stay tuned.
Okay, and I think safety is the most important thing. We have entered into a partnership with the Sarasota Memorial Hospital as our advisors on health. When we have people coming in, we take to the cabarets, we take temperatures, we follow the rules and regulations with the ordinances that the city of Sarasota has for the masks. You can see right now we're using this mask fogging procedure, which is a pathicide, it's fabulous. We can develop this here at the building. We mix salt and water, and it really can kill 99.9% of all pathogens. We also have mobile ticket scanning options, plexiglass in the box office. And here I think, Natasha, you are demonstrating, you with Tom, also from our marketing department, demonstrating our touchless ticket system right here. And absolutely using some of the, I think we have 28 hand sanitizer stations throughout the hall.
They're all over the place.
Yes, they are.
So something we saw here that I think we want to talk a little bit more about, Mary, is air filtration. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah. And I may have to read a little of this because I'll tell you, this is a really important thing to me and something that we really wanted to hone in on. Our train HVAC system, and you should know we have a brand new chiller in the building, has just received a 350-degree deep steam cleaning from Pure Air Controls last week. They were here with their machines, and it was really something. We also have multiple Aeromax commercial grade air purifiers that are due to arrive before our first show. And they utilize a 4-step filtration, which is a carbon filter, a true HEPA trapping 99.97 of air pollutants, an antimicrobial treatment to reduce any growth on a filter, as well as bipolar ionization. And we are hearing that these are very important in spaces like bathrooms and small spaces. So look at where you're going, that you see things like this, and you'll find them in our restrooms and smaller spaces. On a larger scale for the facility, we're currently pursuing, and let me see if I can get this name correctly, photohydrogenation, which these units go into our air handlers, and they are designated to reduce all sorts of pollutants from our air system. We also installed new pre-chiller fans, and these fans draw in lots more fresh air into the building. And of course, the wonderful thing, as you can see behind me, is we have high ceilings, so that's fantastic. And then we are using, for us, the highest level MERV filter that we could use in our building, because you don't want to negatively affect any air pressure. So our air handlers work long hours, and these new fans will help dramatically. So we're doing everything we can think of, and that's why we are so excited about partnering with a health company that is as well respected as Sarasota Memorial.
Great. So on to the next question. We had a question that was very specific to screening and testing. So I think there were stories going around of venues in New York City that were requiring a COVID test prior to entry. And I know that there's stories out there about Live Nation considering different policies with regard to the vaccine. So can you talk a little bit about the Van Wezel's plan moving forward with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I wasn't aware about any theaters in New York because as far as I know, all the theaters in New York are closed right now. The bars, the restaurants are closed, and certainly the Broadway theaters are closed. But as far as Live Nation, we partner with them on a number of shows. We do a lot of great comedy shows with Live Nation. And it also has to do with Ticketmaster, which is a joint company. And they hope in the future, and I don't know how far in the future this is that there might be an app that they're developing. And I think a number of people are trying to develop something which once you've been vaccinated, you would be able to show your phone and it would show a green signal that would let you go in, showing that you'd been vaccinated. And if you weren't vaccinated, you could also show a very recent test to see whether you were positive or not. But these are going in I still think these are in the future. And I have not yet been vaccinated. I would have done it on the very first day. I'll be glad to do it online or on television because it's the only way in my mind that we come back full force. So hopefully there will be some sort of card that shows that you've had such a vaccination, and we will do whatever is recommended by the CDC as the best practice. And I can tell you, Natasha, I'm on weekly calls with all our partners. I'm on a weekly call with the Sarasota Orchestra, the ballet, the opera, FST, Oslo, West Coast Black Theater, also with the circus. And then I'm on a call every Thursday with all of the state theaters. And we all work together with the different performing arts halls. And then, of course, the Broadway League, which is the national theaters, we're pretty much in touch with them on a monthly basis. So it really helps to know the best practices, and we will certainly follow suit with the best practices we possibly can.
Great. And on this same topic of safety, another category that we got a lot of questions on was seating and capacity, and of course social distancing.
hmm Okay. Well, as you know, or I believe most people know, that the governor has opened the state to 100% in the theaters. And we felt that that wasn't the wisest thing to do. For our cabarets, for example, the room is rated for 375 people. We keep the capacity at 80 because what we wanted to do in the cabaret, which is a smaller space, is give everybody their own table that they, if you have a bubble that if you've been quarantining with, you could come with these people and you sit at the table, and then all of the tables are 6 to 10 feet. I really think it's more like 8 to 10 feet away from each other. And you come in with your mask on and you have your mask. So it's way below 50%. When we open up with our first show, which is going to be in January 25th with Reza, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and we're doing 50% of capacity, so there will be 2 seats within you. And even if there's less than 50% of attendance, we will space people out even more. But we just don't want to bring it back at this point to 100% of capacity till we feel it's safe.
Great. And as she mentioned, there will be those 2 seats in between parties for Reza. So the box office, I know, is reaching out to everyone regarding any kind of seat changes, since I know this show was a previously booked show. So I'm
Yes.
sure that they've been in touch with all of you if you have tickets. And if you have any questions, they're always happy to hear from you.
And I love Reza. Reza is an illusionist, and he really is cutting edge. He's younger. He's probably under 25 years old, and he is very much, he's going to make, I just don't know how to get the right words. He's going to make a helicopter disappear. I really wish he could make this whole COVID-19 disappear. I would certainly have called on David Copperfield if I thought that would work. But Reza is one of the younger illusionists, and it's really something that I'm so excited about. And he's going to be doing, I've heard, it's going to be one of the most exciting shows we've had on the stage. And so that's January 25th. The reason I pause is every now and then I get on my screen these little messages flying in, and 1 or 2 of them were about the relief package SOS that I was talking about before.
Oh, there is a lot going on at the same time.
There sure is, Natasha.
So you answered one of our next questions already with this, and that's kind of in the direction of where are we going. So as Mary mentioned, Reza is going to be our first show on the main stage since March 2020. So we're very excited for that. I know somebody asked when will live shows be happening again. So it's pretty soon. We're a little over a month out, and we hope you'll join us. One of the big topics we got a lot of questions on was Broadway. So when Broadway reopens, how long will it take before a Broadway show returns to the Van Wezel? Will the Broadway season come back? And can you talk a little bit about the challenges that Broadway and large-scale touring productions face when it comes to putting shows on the road?
Yeah, Broadway was the first, I think, that in terms of touring that really went down fast, because it's much easier to tour with a comedian who's one guy and usually is or woman and their manager, or even a rock and roll show. But with Broadway, some of these shows, like A Lion King, has 18 or 19 tractor trailers, 100 or more people are on the road. Even the smaller shows have 4 tractor trailers and 50 people traveling on the road. And so we were finding that not many of the states are open. Florida is open, Texas is open, and I'm sure there may be another one. But for these tours to make sense, they have to go from one market to the next to the next. And so that's ridiculously hard to do when so many states are closed. We're hearing that Broadway will be coming back very shortly. Of course, again, as I said before, that's all based on the current information we have, and should something happen, that could change. But I feel very strongly that our show Come From Away, which I feel has been coming from away forever, will be this next November for Thanksgiving week. It is going to be even better than having a turkey on the table, Natasha. We will have Come From Away in the theater. I just was speaking to the tour today, and they're very excited to be getting out on the road. They have 10 stops before us. And so it also, with Broadway, is very hard because you have to rehearse the cast And, you know, it has to be safe for the actors, and the Broadway League and others have been busy negotiating contracts with the Actors Union, the Stagehands Union. All of these things have to come together. So I'm confident we'll have an amazing Broadway season next year. And all these shows that I've had to move from one year to the next should be showing up next year. And if not, some of them may come in the following year, but you're going to have a surprise or two. In fact, we have already announced a new show. Sarah Brightman is coming next December. And of course, she was the original Christine in Phantom of the Opera. She was married at one point to Andrew Lloyd Webber. I've seen her show and in arenas, and she is spectacular. And this is her tour of Him that will be here in December. David Foster, who of course I've always talked about. I had a chance to go to Budapest with him and his new wife, Catherine McPhee. He'll be coming back next year. Renee Fleming, Il Divo. And Il Divo was supposed to start out our 50th anniversary season. We had this huge celebration, and one of the guys had a problem with his leg. We rebooked it for a later time, and then COVID hit. So sooner or later, we're going to have that 50th anniversary celebration of the Van Wezel. And of course, Jay Leno will be coming up next year. So many great shows.
Yes, and I think we can all agree that that January El Divo concert feels like it was a decade ago.
Oh, it does, doesn't
So
it?
hopefully, I can't wait for them to finally make it over to Sarasota, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think a lot
Thank heavens they didn't bake the cake when we were, you know, we were able to stop this big, beautiful cake of the Van Wezel.
Hopefully, we'll have an even bigger cake for when all of this comes back to life.
You bet. Everything.
Moving on to another topic here is going to be ticketing. We had a question about refunds. Will you refund ticket prices if someone does not want to attend a performance next year?
You know, I haven't really thought of that, and it's a good question, and I will certainly consider it. At this point, you know, with COVID, we've been very all sorts of ways you could either refund or get a donation or exchange your tickets for a different performance. We'll have to see, because what people have to understand is we're partners with the show and we have contracts that we sign. But, you know, I think going forward, everybody is going to do everything possible to make an audience feel comfortable and want to come back to the theater. So I certainly hope that will be the case.
Sure. And is there a seating chart available for anybody that wants to buy a ticket to see kind of what is available before they buy?
Absolutely. My box office manager, Tim, tells me there is a map available for every performance that we have on sale right now. You can look at it. It's on our website, and I urge you to do so.
Great. What will pricing be like in the future, and do you expect higher ticket prices when live performances return?
Yeah, that's a great question. Most of our prices for tickets are ruled by the cost of the artist, because, you know, if it's a less known artist, it's obviously a cheaper ticket versus a big megastar or a big Broadway show that's won you know, 10, 15 Tonys. But we're trying our best to negotiate with artists to bring fees down so that we can induce people to come back into the theater. The issue is these artists have not been able to earn a living for well over a year. Just today, one of my best friends, who is an agent who has worked for William Morris for 42 years, was given a notice that he is no longer employed. And so many people have lost their jobs, and so many people haven't been able to earn a living that's what we keep hearing from the agents. So we're going to do everything in our power to do so.
Great. And moving on to a new topic here, we got a couple of questions on the Bayfront Project. So can you give us a little bit of an update on construction, the new facility, where things are going?
I'm really happy to say that we're working very closely hand in hand with our partners, the Van Wezel Foundation, who are taking the lead on this, but it's going to be a private-public partnership. Obviously, the city owns the land, the city will own the hall, but it will be operated like by the Van Wezel Foundation, and it will be a 501c3, which makes it much easier for a performing arts hall to do, because there's all sorts of things that, you know, you need to be a 501c3 to get special grants and have a citizens board of board of directors that can lead the association. And I'm looking forward to that. Right now, we're all working on modeling and all phases of planning, but I can tell you that Cheryl and I are talking about doing very similar talks such as this. After the first of the year, we'll be able to answer a lot more questions about that. Meanwhile, the Bay Project is in phase 1, you know, and they were so thrilled with our yoga on the lawn. So everything is coming along very beautifully.
Great. And we encourage everyone, again, to keep an eye on your emails. We'll definitely keep you informed once we set a date for that town hall in the new year. That way we can answer all of your questions, and the foundation will be involved to answer any questions that you may have regarding the new projects. So a great question that we got on that same subject: if members of the community want to help, what can they do, whether it be a financial contribution or a non-financial contribution? How can people get involved, and what can they do to help right now?
I would recommend that they donate to the Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall Foundation, who is our partner, our fundraising arm of the hall. And this year, because of COVID, you can get a tax deduction on this. I also recommend, if you can't use your tickets, please donate them back to us, because we need the help. You can imagine the Van Wezel earns 92 to 94% of its income, which is absolutely unusual. So as we cannot do shows the way we used to, we are in desperate straits for this season. So I desperately ask that you help us that way. But if you can't help financially, you could call us. We often can use people to help us with ushering. We often need people to call with a phone bank, so you could, you know, work from your home and help us out that way, and we keep a list on that. And then, as I said at the top of the show, with the whole thing, with the, if it hasn't already passed, which I don't know because the emails flash so quickly in front of my screen, write to Senator Marco Rubio. Tell him this Van Wezel Performing Arts Hall needs your help. We don't receive funding from the city. We don't receive tax income. The state doesn't support us in any other way other than a grant here and there. And we need, just like every other performing arts venue in town, to save our stage. And that's really important to us, because we've had to furlough a number of people on the staff, lay a few people off. Our entire staff of show people, our stagehands, and also our caterers and our wardrobe people, all that are show related people have been not working for almost a year, and we really, really need you. So thank you very much for those questions.
Yes, and in addition, of course, everybody please spread the word. If you know of a great virtual show that you're going to watch, tell your friends. If there's a socially distanced show you'd like to attend, tell your friends. We have a little bit of everything. Mary talked through a lot of them, these main stage shows, in addition to the virtual programming and cabaret, Bay Music Live. We have a lot of variety, so definitely help us spread the word. Another question we got was about rentals. Can members of the public rent the hall right now for a wedding, a business meeting? Is that available?
Yes, we can rent the hall because the Van Wezel is open, because the governor has opened the state for the theaters. So we're doing that. And I know you've got another question, Natasha, about us working with other nonprofits in the area. And for example, at one point I was in talks with the Oslo, who are opening their show. I think previews are tonight for We Need a Little Christmas. We talked to them about them doing a show here at the Van Wezel. We talked to FST. We would entertain any other people that are interested in renting the hall or working with us as a partner.
Great. And another interesting question that we got was about annual membership. So somebody asked, if you pay a monthly fee, for example, that gets charged to your credit card, and then let's say you have $450 to spend on tickets for the whole season, is that something that the Van Wezel does, or is considering something that we would do for the future?
You know, I hadn't heard about something like that, but you can buy a gift certificate, and say you could buy a gift certificate for $450 and then draw down on it. So that would certainly be possible. We could look at a membership. I know Ruth Eckerd Hall has some sort of membership where you pay a certain amount and you get to buy your tickets ahead of time. We have an e-club, and if you join our e-club, you have the opportunity to buy tickets before the general public, and we don't charge anything at this point, and I certainly don't plan on doing this coming out of the pandemic. So but every new idea is something that we should think about. So we certainly can do that. we could also, as I said, a gift certificate's a great way to be able to draw down on something.
Great. And we did answer a couple of these questions in the chat. We saw somebody raise their hand, but if anybody does have any questions, we have been answering them in the Q&A. But we had one that was pre-submitted, and it's something that we can't log off until we answer this question because it's the most important one. Mary, how is your dog doing?
Oh, thank you. My beloved dog, Tinkerbell, who joined me on so many of our events, and she would be my partner at my side, passed away this summer. She was 15 years old, and that was kind of devastating to me. But you know, I have a new dog in my life. It's another little Yorkie. Her name is Dory. And she is a ball of energy and beloved by everybody on the staff. She just can't, you know, she's a puppy. And so she did pass puppy class. I sometimes think she passed on cute because she didn't always do what I said. But thank you. That's such a lovely personal note for somebody to ask about my dog. That's really sweet.
Great. Somebody just asked in the Q&A, will Josh Groban be here? I hope so.
Natasha is in love with Josh Groban.
He's one of my favorite musicians. That's probably not the answer that you were looking for, but he's one of my favorite musicians, so I hope so.
Well, the answer on Josh Groban is that he actually was in the week before we closed the theater, and we had a sold-out house. And somebody, I think, asked about meet and greets at one point, Natasha, and Josh did a different kind of meet and greet where he was on the stage and then he talked to the audience that was sitting in the seats. And because I don't think you'll see these one-on-one meet and greets where you get your picture taken right with the star until things calm down a little bit. But Josh will have to make up the dates that on the tour that he had to cancel. But let me tell you, I will do everything in my power to bring Josh Groban back because I adore him as well.
Great. I'm just checking the Q&A really quick.
And we are so appreciate our audience. You mean the world to us. And my life has not been the same. None of our staff has. We cannot wait to get back to work. I want to, you know, and our foundation is so excited to have people back in and have our friends. I actually saw some of the friends of the Van Wezel at the last week cabaret show, and it was great to see people. I mean, I hadn't seen them for like 9 months. And, you know, you can imagine all of us in the theater industry are very touchy-feely and we want to hug people and can't do these right now. But let me tell you, I will be getting the vaccine as soon as I can.
Great. And also to add to the question about meet and greets, a lot of these virtual performances, some of you may have participated in those. Many of them came up with really innovative virtual meet and greet options, which we know is not the same, of course, but it's a different way to really get to interact with them on a one-on-one basis. And I think one of them, I think it was Jim Brickman that was joking, saying, well, I'm going to see your living room. So, you know,
yeah, I was lucky enough to interview him, you know, and let me tell you, Dave Koz had a gorgeous house. I actually had Jim Brickman perform A Christmas Carol for me directly. So they've come up with all sorts of special ways, Natasha. I know that people were sending like boxes of cupcakes to people's houses and all sorts of special things just to let you know how important you are to both the hall and to our artists.
Great. And I think we are just about done, but we did want to thank you all for joining us tonight.
Have a safe and happy holiday, everyone.
Yes, thank you all so much, and we hope to see you all very soon. Thank you for your great questions.
Okay, bye everybody now. Be safe.